Hello and welcome back to the Sabbath document. Today we're going over the conclusion. And hope this might be a long video considering what's in it. But yeah, before we begin, as per usual, I will say, you guys can look at the like button at the bottom here with the mouse, hover it over the video, and as you can see the gear that says settings, click that, click playback speed and scroll down and click times 1.75 or times 2 speed, and that will make listening to me more bearable because I may have some gaps and pauses in my speech. But for this particular video, when the videos later on are played, I'd recommend that you put the speed back to like normal or 1.25, or if you like 1.5, because listening to those videos is going to be like more bearable to listen to at a normal type of speed than how I speak. So you may want to like lower the speed when those videos come up. But yeah. So conclusion. Now as we come to a temporary close, because we can learn more and edit things into this document and reuse, I want to say that there's a ton of things to learn, but the topic of the Sabbath is one of the most important topics to learn about, as we are coming into the final crisis called the MOB, which is short for Mark of the Beast. And the final crisis is mainly on the topic of the Sabbath. Still, of course, must keep all 10 commandments by loving faithful obedience to Christ, but the Sabbath is one of the 10 commandments also, and is the main issue of the crisis. This doctrine of the Sabbath does have God's seal in it, as we've learned earlier in previous lessons, for salvation. And God wants his people to live this experience and share it with others before it's too late. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Matthew chapter 24, verse 14. Many of us, though, can't change people ourselves or force them. Don't try to force them, because you'll likely just harden their hearts more against the truth. It's like getting a donkey to the water. You can bring it there, but if you force it to drink, it won't act nice to you, to say the least. All we can do is study to show ourselves approved of God. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. And also to disprove false doctrines and stuff. Anyway, and live the truth that we claim to believe. Pray throughout the day that God gives you the power and consistent mindset to do so. And let our light shine, and hopefully as a result bring many souls to Christ. And then once we enter into the kingdom of heaven, Christ can say, quote, "Well done, my servant," end quote, to you personally. Personally, I'd rather get praise from God than from man. So yeah. I'm not sure what else to say after that, but yeah, that's the main goal. That's the big picture. Also something to go more into in another study. Just before this ends, though, I've added very necessary videos to watch as an ending to this conclusion of this document, because these further show that what the Bible prophesies about is not happening hundreds or thousands of years from now, like most professed followers of God believe, but have been happening since October 22nd, 1844, going from the judgment time, showing that we're in the last days and stuff. And we are near the end of this world's history, and many people don't realize what's about to come upon this world as an overwhelming surprise. Surprise for those who are ignorant / willfully ignorant, and those who heard the truths and have backslidden and never came back to the truth before it was too late. So this is the section called Eyes on the Times. There's 5 videos, and I have it in this playlist here. And credit again to Prophecyagaintv for these videos, as even though that they were from years ago, they're still very relevant to this day, as of course these are talking about like what's coming and what's been happening and what people have been missing out on, and what most of people in the Christian denomination do not see or willfully do not want to see. But anyway, I'm not going to keep talking or rambling. I'm just going to let the videos play, and I'll come back by the end of these. And I'll see you guys then.
And when he came near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, if thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now are they hid from thine eyes. For the day shall come upon thee that thy enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee. And they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation.
Will the dystopian world depicted by George Orwell's 1984 become a reality? According to Microsoft's president, Brad Smith, it just might. For those who haven't read it, 1984 is a dystopian novel written in 1949 that tried to predict a possible future. A future where a state called Oceania had every citizen monitored at all times by an all-knowing, all-seeing Big Brother.
Amnesty International conducted a 3-borough census of surveillance cameras in New York and found more than 15,000 cameras in public spaces.
This is just the part of the iceberg we can see.
A 2021 survey found that about 17% of American respondents own smart security cameras. Many were private doorbell cameras.
When you look at how many other brands of cameras there are out there, we're probably talking about hundreds of thousands of cameras.
These sensors have also become a lot more intelligent. They're able to identify moving objects, all of which makes the data much, much richer. Your life can be rewound and your secrets can be revealed.
A lot of people think Google's just a search box and Facebook's just a place to see what my friends are doing. What they don't realize is there's entire teams of engineers whose job is to use your psychology against you.
Everything they're doing online is being watched, is being tracked. Every single action you take is carefully monitored and recorded.
One of the reasons that your phone can deliver such extraordinary experiences, things like the fastest way to get home or a show or a podcast you might enjoy, is because it tracks you. It tracks information about your behavior and where you go in the world. Now, it turns out that a company is selling that information to police such that they can surveil millions of Americans in their most intimate habits, and they can do it without a warrant.
Pegasus can do things on your phone that you can't even do.
It can activate any function on your phone. It completely mirrors it. It can look for your cameras. It can also take pictures.
It accesses your messages, your history.
It can listen to what you say, and it can also record you.
So yeah, Pegasus is pretty terrifying.
What NSO allows its customers to do is to break into your devices, usually your smartphone, and do anything on it you can do. They can get your location, they can get all your emails, they can get all of your social media, they can get all your pictures, they can get all of your video, they can turn on your microphone, they can turn on your camera. So it provides an incredibly granular map, not just of your life and your interests, but also of your relationships. And so for a government spy agency, to be able to get into someone's smartphone is an incredibly powerful tool.
In about 2014, 2015, I could hear clicking in and out of my cell phone. And I told my husband, I think they're listening to my cell phone calls.
Without any consent, without like any due cause or warrants or things like that.
Without any of that.
I mean, this sounds like a civil liberties nightmare.
It's very stressful. I mean, the harassment is everywhere.
You know, you look at a country like China that has like technological tracking of all of its citizens, facial recognition technology, social scores, all of these things. And I think people are like, the United States is never gonna be like China like that.
No, we absolutely will.
Now, what we've found in this process, that the people that were most interesting for those repressive regimes were actually investigators.
These are journalists, activists, opposition figures, religious figures, dissenters, people living in exile, community organizers, far from what anyone would imagine a so-called terrorist to be.
Immediate keyhole visual tasking. Target is on 20.
The surveillance ecosystem that could only be imagined back in the 1998 film Enemy of the State pretty much exists today, complete with smart cameras and high-altitude aerial imaging.
In the last 2 decades, cameras have gotten a lot cheaper, they've gotten smaller, they've gotten lighter.
A lot of the NYPD camera systems have 4K resolution, night vision capabilities, 360 monitoring, or have a swivel mount. They can zoom in. Some of them are even positioned where they can see into the bedrooms of New Yorkers.
Do you think Big Brother's watching you on the subways? You're absolutely right. That is our intent.
This company's marketing video shows an example of persistent wide area motion imagery, or WAMI. It allows for the tracking of potentially hundreds of individuals simultaneously. So once an incident is observed, law enforcement can rewind and track persons of interest in the area all the way back to their homes.
If you want to go back weeks in the footage and see everywhere an individual has been, you can do that because the camera is always recording the entire frame.
If you map the route you take to school, to work, to church, or to a mosque, you can't get there unseen. And in the age of facial recognition, that means you can't get there untracked.
The Transportation Security Administration is testing a controversial facial recognition technology, and it could be coming to an airport near you.
It was pretty simultaneous, I think, to me going through the metal detector that I heard that over a loudspeaker. I heard them say, woman with long dark hair and gray scarf.
Did they say something about facial recognition?
I believe they did. I believe they said that our recognition picked you up, and they knew my name before I told it to them. They knew the firm that I was associated with before I told them, and they told me that I was not allowed to be there.
This whole scheme is a pretext for doing collective punishment on adversaries. The fact that they're using facial recognition technology to do this is frightening. It's just un-American to do this.
We see facial recognition firms like Clearview AI going onto social media sites like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and just scraping data, taking our images in bulk, downloading them, ingesting them into their database. Chances are that whoever you are watching this right now, your image is in a Clearview AI database, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Welcome back to Unfiltered. Listen, I've been warning you over and over, and now the Fed's saying the quiet part out loud. They want a digital currency. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the biggest surveillance tool you will ever see in human history.
Looking forward, rapid changes are taking place in the global monetary system that may affect the international role of the dollar in the future. And in light of the tremendous growth in crypto assets and stablecoins, we are examining whether a U.S. central bank digital currency would improve upon what is an already safe and efficient domestic payment system.
You've been sounding the alarm about these central bank digital currencies for a while, me as well. It's a big concern. This is the ultimate surveillance tool, isn't it?
Absolutely, and anonymity isn't even the worst of our problems. The worst of our problems is the fact that it's going to be programmable. Because it is digital, it means the money can be programmed to be spent in any way in which the central bank or the government decides.
And finally, the third way we think CBDC can improve financial inclusion is through what we call programmability. By programming CBDC, those money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own and what kind of use this money can be
My particular
utilized.
concerns is the World Economic Forum, because they're talking about implementing a carbon allowance. Now, this means each individual will be given a certain amount of, whether it's credit or whatever it is, carbon that they are allowed to emit. And how do they implement that? Through a central bank digital currency.
Those transaction data in terms of how many coffee I drink every day, where I buy coffee, do I use Uber every day, and what kind of working hours I have. Those non-traditional data can be very useful for financial service providers to give me a credit score.
So if I buy too many plane tickets, or if I buy too much meat, because those things are all supposedly very bad for the environment, my money when I go to fill up my car could then be declined. So now they're literally controlling what we can and can't do with our money.
Just swipe in, shop, and go. Amazon Go, the company launching their first full cashierless grocery store, expanding their similar convenience stores to a 10,000 square foot grocery space in Seattle for Amazon members. To enter, you need the Amazon app. Shoppers scan in at the turnstile, and then the same technology used in self-driving cars, cameras, sensors, and wireless communication track everything you take off the shelf.
So you can't even walk into Whole Foods unless you go through this machine? I need my own QR code. How do I get my own QR code? How do I get my own QR code?
According to Darren Burks at the independent website Vision News, Oxford County Council are planning on embarking in 2024 not on COVID lockdowns, but, as I and many others have long predicted, climate lockdowns. The Oxfordshire Council will place electronic gates on key roads in and out of the city, confining residents to their own neighbourhoods. Even the Times newspaper has reported on this travesty without batting an eyelid, that motorists will be fined simply for leaving their neighbourhood once too.
Welcome to dystopia. All our cities will probably end up now being broken up into precincts like sci-fi films that were made predicting a dystopian future. You can't even travel into your next couple of roads now. There's going to be fines if you leave your area or your 15-minute zone more than twice a week. And I tell you what, when we're forced, well, a few of us, because most of us won't be able to afford it, into electric vehicles, those electric vehicles won't even go past the border. They'll be programmed so they don't. So you won't even be able to get the fine. It's terrifying, Mark. It really
Big
is.
news out in California. The state has voted to ban gas-powered cars by 2035. So in 13 years, all new cars sold in this state, where I am right now, must be free of greenhouse gas emissions like carbon dioxide, and that paves the way for electric and hydrogen-powered
Just under
vehicles.
a third of the UK's greenhouse gas emissions are produced by the transport sector. So, in an attempt to clean it up, it's out with the old gas guzzlers and in with the new electric vehicles.
Well, you don't even have to wait for the electric vehicle. I took a rental car from Budapest to drive into Ukraine a few months ago, and the car had been programmed in order to prevent me driving it into the war zone. The car had been programmed to die at the border. I couldn't figure out what had happened. It just stopped. And as I think I said on this show back then, if you think that's just going to be applied to Ukraine, no. And in fact, I think Joe Biden has just made it mandatory that all American cars have to have a kill switch in them by 2026. So there is actually now a governmental war on freedom of movement.
Also tonight, you may never need to go back to the DMV again. A Bay Area company has come up with a new digital license plate.
Through a monochromatic display, the so-called R plate allows drivers with the push of a few buttons on an app to customize their license plate with DMV-approved features.
Law enforcement really likes the R plate because it shows compliance. They also like the ability that if the vehicle was stolen, that they could actually track the plate, something that they can't do
Member
right
Lori
now.
Wilson co-authored the bill passed by the state, allowing for all 40 million drivers to use the tablet-like plate that can also show emergency messages like Amber Alerts and have built-in tracking technology to help law enforcement.
If a vehicle is stolen, we can splash on that plate as a signal that the vehicle is stolen.
When we have another pandemic, we understand that to stop the spreading of the virus, we have to limit, not stop, the movement of the people.
Toby Young, I'm going to pick up with you on this. One of the things that concerned me, and I'll give it as a direct quote, was the comment, let's have a digital health certificate acknowledged by the World Health Organization. If you've been vaccinated or tested properly, then you can move around. Sorry?
Yeah, the implication is that if you don't have your electronic vaccine certificate on your mobile phone, then you won't be able to leave your home.
Here we are again.
Yeah.
Another moment where we were called conspiracy theorists for railing against the World Health Organization's plot when it comes to vaccine passports. And we were promised, weren't we? This is just for the bad.
Well, this is the way it works, Laura. It's like if you have these vaccine passports, they can support the same functionality as the China social credit system, which It surveils every aspect of a person and assigns a social credit score about how compliant you are. And if you combine that with the central bank digital currency, where the federal government is deciding whether or not you can spend your money, then they can just take your money away. They can sever you from your credit cards, from your bank account, and even from your ability. They can even empty your bank account if they deem that you are non-compliant.
There's been a huge push over the last few years to get every house to have a smart meter, but there is now a full admission that smart meters mean that twice every hour, energy companies can monitor exactly the amount of electricity. So I struggle to believe that smart meters are in the interest of the consumer. I think they're much more in the interest of the commercial companies that want us to have them. And I suspect once you've got a smart meter, in extremis, they could literally switch off your power.
In a dramatic attempt to deal with the public health crisis that has eluded mayors for decades, Mayor Adams announced his plan to take people with mental illness off city streets.
He's directed police and emergency medical workers to involuntarily hospitalize more of them, he says, to get them the help they need.
I know some people may look at what we're doing saying that we are trying to do something to take away the right of people. No, we're not. The right is that people should be able to live in dignity.
Now, the mayor's plan also includes an 11-point legislative agenda to fill in gaps in the mental health laws. The mayor said that the program could also be applied to those who aren't homeless. He urged New Yorkers to become what he called trauma identifiers and to call either 311 or 911 to get help for people they see are in need of help.
Christ gave his disciples a sign of the ruin to come on Jerusalem. When ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Just before the second coming of Christ, the nations of the world will unite to persecute the followers of Christ. Everywhere and in every nation, a movement is on foot to establish a system in which to compel the conscience and enslave the world. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble. But he shall be saved out of it. He shall dwell on high. His place of defense shall be the munition of rocks. Bread shall be given him, his water shall be sure. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, for he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Watch therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass.
Imagine using an EU-wide app to pay your bills, check in at an airport, rent a car, or upload a medical file. You log in with a unique lifelong ID number. To some, this probably sounds very convenient, much like traveling easily across borders with a digital COVID certificate that's recognized everywhere. To others, it's the stuff of nightmares, a digital prison of permanent surveillance and control. Either way, plans for an EU digital identity are coalescing, with a common toolbox expected to be unveiled this September.
Water is essential for all life. Without it, we would cease to exist. But what if your ability to access water could be manipulated and even restricted? What if a trip to the grocery store meant complying to a set of rules? Or what if filling up at the gas station came with strings attached? Would you violate your conscience?
The water ATM is a new way to distribute the water. Everyone in Harado has got one of these tags. When a tag is holded at the water ATM, the water comes down. It's as simple as that.
Our mission is to banish checkout lines for good. You can simply walk in, check in when you enter, pick up whatever you want, and simply walk out.
And then you do your left palm. Okay.
It's not a TSA checkpoint or the entrance to a high security area.
Enter the phone number linked to that Amazon account.
It's grocery shopping at Whole Foods. This palm scanning payment option is one big change the tech giant has brought to Whole Foods. It's already in 20 stores, and it's rolling out to 65 more soon.
National Fuel Pass is a system that assigns a personalized, unique QR code for consumers, enabling equitable access to the country's fuel supply through a quota allocation system.
Former Labour Prime Minister Tony Blair and former Conservative Party leader William Hague have come together to jointly advocate for the UK to roll out digital IDs. Writing in the Times newspaper, they called for a digital ID for every citizen, a national health infrastructure that uses data to improve care and keep costs down, and sovereign AI systems backed up by supercomputing capabilities. In other words, everything that you need to know about our bodies and our lives, all on a microchip.
Our concern is the combination of sort of a global singular ID that combines everything with a digital currency, which is being pushed simultaneously along with this kind of concept. So our concern is that you get to the point where it's very easy to literally flip a switch and prevent you from participating in society.
Imagine a future where artificial intelligence watches you try and charge your electric vehicle or put fuel in your old car and decides you've already emitted too much CO2 this month. Results, no power or fuel for you. Or you try and buy a steak and the AI decides you've consumed enough environment-wrecking beef. You can't buy it. Imagine you want to travel to London for a meeting and the AI decides you've tweeted something the government doesn't like. No ticket for you. The usual voices will say all of this is just conspiracy theory, but the past 3 years have proved that today's conspiracy theory is tomorrow's fact.
We stand at the divide between a free personal enterprise future and a digital surveillance age. If nothing is done to stop this bill, government will sit in the middle of every interaction Australians have with each other and with the world. And it achieves this in the same way China does, by creating a digital identity that forms a central part of a person's life. You can call it a license to live.
To shop online, you'll have to use your digital ID to prove you are who you are. Just to read your email, to use online banking, even to open your computer will require your digital ID. You'll be in digital jail until you open it with your digital key. All of this can be connected to your carbon footprint and the rest of your social credit score. Make no mistake, all of it is on the Chinese model that enables the state to watch, track and record everything you do and everywhere you go. The cameras are already in place around us and in our phones and screens alongside the microphones that can listen. All of this can be tied to a central bank digital currency, not actual money you can hide under the mattress, just a digital credit rating monitored before any and every transaction.
What began with COVID contact tracing, vaccine passports and QR check-ins will soon be formalised by an inescapable digital identity. It signals the complete end of consumer privacy, the end of citizen anonymity and the beginning of a big brother digital age that treats the people of Australia as products rather than free human beings. The government intends to build a complete digital record of every Australian to be shared and used. Our medical history, our shopping preferences, who we associate with, whether our choices are really so-called green, social security, veteran services, travel records, website viewing, employment status, and social media comments. Everything will go on the record and be available to any large corporation that can pay for access.
What I hate is the idea that there's one file in the world that's got Bev Turner on it, and in that file is everything. My health status, my criminal status, my bank accounts, my everything.
Most of these digital IDs are going towards biometrics where, you know, now it's not just that you've got a provisional driving license that shows your age, but you've got something as sensitive as your DNA that could also be linked with your internet use, your financial habits, your behaviours, where you go, all kinds of information. And that's what the kind of, obviously health information as well. And that is really what is starting to happen at the European level, which is a real risk.
All-encompassing is the proposed digital ID that's being discussed?
It's almost like a control mechanism, if you like. I mean, without being too dramatic about it, this really is a means of collecting data by your digital ID. Your digital ID is your face, really. Your facial recognition will unlock everything that you need to access, goods and services, bank accounts, whatever. And we're about to enter the zero trust world. And that zero trust world really, it means that you, in order to access all these goods and services and everything that you normally access in a free world, you won't be able to, because you will have to authenticate all the time.
How much of the infrastructure is already there? You know, you talk about facial recognition. You know, in terms of the cameras that will do this all around us, I know they're on the phones and on the screens. Is all there waiting?
It's
for a
all
green
there.
light?
The infrastructure is there. And unfortunately, I mean, you may have noticed that in your supermarkets now, the human tills are going and you've got these self-service tills. Well, with those self-service tills comes facial recognition. You will be given your carbon credits. And when those are done, when you've expired them, maybe you've bought too much, whatever, they don't like meat or whatever. You know, the biometrics in the supermarkets, and there will be biometric doors eventually. That's what Tesco's are looking at the moment. You know, those doors don't open if you're facial recognition.
Happening now in China, where they are digitalised, is a social credit system. So you and I, who spoke out about lockdown, we knew the damage it would be doing to our children, we knew the damage it would do to our healthcare, we knew the damage it would do to our society and to our funds, and we're in this state because of what they did to us over lockdown. You and I would be locked up. And if we weren't locked up, we would have no social credit, you wouldn't be able to go to the cinema, you wouldn't be able to go out, you'd be completely controlled because you didn't have the same opinion of those that are controlling the digital ID.
We've all heard about the Chinese model of surveillance and social credit score. So it's not paranoia, is it? It's not conspiracy theory to say that if there's the will in government to transform this into something whereby your behaviour online can be a mark against you or in your favour. That's not conspiracy theory, is it?
No, it's all the facts are there. And it does seem that, you know, we all know we've all been debt slaves. This is a transition into identity slavery.
I think it's very hard for people who've grown up and enjoyed Western liberty and human liberty to imagine literally that we're going into a system where literally our homes, our cars, our communities become digital concentration camps. It's a little bit like bringing up a corral around us. And CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and vaccine passports or digital IDs are sort of the last shutting of the gate. When this gate closes on us, we literally will be sitting in a system where the central banks believe that our assets belong to them, and they can dictate where we can spend money and what we can spend money on. If you don't behave, you can have your money turned off.
I would note that generally, we do live in a society right now that is very polarized and divided. And we're seeing governments on both sides stir up the population, where we have, you know, the government saying, the Prime Minister, for example, saying terrible things about the unvaccinated. We have, you know, people saying, well, if you don't get vaccinated, you deserve to die, things like this. These are examples. But the fact is that the climate is there for the government to be able to say, you know what, these people, as Justin Trudeau said, are racist and misogynist, whatever. We have to deal with it. How much longer do we have to tolerate these people? And when you start speaking like that and you have an infrastructure wherein you could potentially turn the switch off on those people, to me, that's 1 + 1, and all you need now is equals 2.
Here's the thing. Our governments want digital ID. For the longest time, most of us have been slaves to debt. In the future, we are to be digital slaves. Our every move under round-the-clock surveillance and subject to the yes or no of Big Brother. When it comes to bait and switch, this is the end game. Once digital ID is in place, they won't need the bait anymore because we'll have swallowed it.
The implementation of a digital ID will mark the beginning of a new era, an era in which men in powerful positions will seek to control the consciences of men. The time is not far distant when the prophecy of the revelation will be fulfilled, when no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark. Will you stand when every earthly support has been cut off, when the powers of hell have arrayed themselves against the people of God? Will you stand with your face to the foe and say, though he slay me, yet will I trust him? When the religion of Christ is most held in contempt, when his law is most despised, then should our zeal be the warmest, and our courage and firmness the most unflinching, to stand in defense of truth and righteousness when the majority forsake us, to fight the battles of the Lord when champions are few. This will be our test. At this time, we must gather warmth from the coldness of others, courage from their cowardice, and loyalty from their treason.
So, beloved, because I love you, I want to say this. There's coming a crisis. But you don't have to be fearful. Just spend more time in watching and praying. Our message is a life and death message. We are to make it appear as the great power of God. The perils of the last days are upon us. In our message, in our sermons, in our Bible studies, we are to make the people know the danger they are in. Let not the solemn scenes which prophecy has revealed be left untouched. If our people were half awake, if they understood the nearness of the events portrayed in the Revelation, a reformation would be wrought in our churches. A reformation would be wrought in our churches, and many more would believe the message. If you watch and pray, you'll be prepared for the coming crisis. Why? I have not given to you the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. Just watch and pray. Watch and pray.
A public orientation to God then reflected where? Reflected in concrete ways, in national holidays, in civic liturgies, in laws, indeed, Sabbath laws, Sunday laws that would require a cessation of what? Commerce.
Heretofore, those who presented the truths of the third angel's message have often been regarded as mere alarmists. Their predictions that religious intolerance would gain control in the United States, that church and state would unite to persecute those who keep the commandments of God, have been pronounced groundless and absurd. It has been confidently declared that this land would never become other than what it has been, the defender of religious freedom. But as a question of enforcing Sunday observance is widely agitated, the event so long doubted and disbelieved is seen to be approaching.
One of the things that you and I have always been interested in is how can social conservatives take a bigger role in making public policy, not just on their little ghetto of like abortion, religious liberty, and small issues, but in every domain. But there are implications for social conservative values across many issues. One of the interesting proposals that you've laid out in Project 2025 handbook from Heritage is stuff around the Sabbath.
So what is Project 2025 and what is their objective? According to their own website, Project 2025 will build on 4 pillars that will collectively pave the way for an effective conservative administration. The project is the effort of a broad coalition of conservative organizations that have come together to ensure a successful administration begins in January 2025 with the right conservative policy recommendations. In this instance, Jonathan Berry, a contributing member, provides further detail on one of these policy recommendations.
In many respects, it is a return to something that basically always everyone ever had. And it's specifically the idea of encouraging Sabbath rest through discouraging commerce on the Sabbaths. But it would be an encouragement and inducement to rest, but really to kind of coordinate commercial activity for the other 6 days of the week, which is as as long as we've had Sabbatarian civilization, beginning in Israel and continuing into Christendom, this is something that's been increasingly a part of the rhythm of civic life. Most importantly, for people to have space to worship and honor God, and secondly, to have times of communal rest with their families and with their communities.
The great question is, how will advocates of a Sunday law advance their agenda in a nation that is rooted in the principles of religious freedom? In the following video, Stephen Wolfe gives greater insight on how this plan will unfold.
So how do you order people, how do you order Christians to eternal life? Well, you, in an outward way, you do what you can so that they can worship God, and the church can administer word and sacrament. And how, in particular, how would you do that? You'd have Sabbath laws, and Sabbath laws are not simply to punish violations of Fourth Commandment, but to provide the conditions in which people can worship God without distraction. That's the purpose.
In the following clip, Stephen reaffirms the fact that although blue laws are considered archaic and religious in nature, they are still considered constitutional. In fact, as many as 28 states to date have blue laws on the books.
Yeah, I mean, even like the Supreme Court in the 19th century, at least, affirmed that Sabbath laws are okay. And as I understand, it's still actually permissible today because they see it as a day of rest. It's not religious, and in itself, it's actually a secular sort of thing. So I think, if that's what the court wants to say, fine, I'm still going to say it's religious. And so in the end, we should, I think, have Sabbath laws for that purpose, for a religious end. And as I understand it, though, it is deemed constitutional as a secular purpose. So if a county if a county or town wants to then enact these laws, they would, as I understand it, they'd have to frame it in terms of kind of secular purpose. Yeah. And if they want to do that, then okay, fine. You still achieve the same end. Yeah. And there is a secular purpose to it. So you're not exactly lying, but it's the better purpose, the higher purpose of it will be precisely the, church attendance, worship God.
In the following excerpt, Stephen confirms what critics have long identified as the primary objective of this movement: to enforce a Christian nationalistic version of Christianity.
Answer your critics. People will say, "Oh, it's unconstitutional. You can't do that." Or why would you want to? Why should we do it? How should we do it? And specifically, like, what's the actual roadmap for doing something like that?
The best critique is basically that what you're doing is it's a de facto privileging of Christianity, because which religion has the Sabbath on Sunday? Well, it's Christianity, and so you're not doing it on Saturday. You're not doing it. So you're explicitly saying this is a Christian land, and we're going to force you to obey some sort of Christian. And so that's the best critique. And I would just say, that's exactly what it does. I would just one of those things. I'm not going to reject their objection. I'm just going to affirm it. Yes, like that's what Christian nationalism is actually saying we're going to privilege the true religion, which is Christianity. And so, we are privileging a Christian, holy day in a sense. Every, good Presbyterian, every Sunday is holy. Yeah. And we're going to do that because we're a Christian nation. That's the idea of Christian nationalism. So I'm not going to retreat to, it's good for all. And of course, everyone gets the day off. Yeah. But it is an explicit recognition of the kind of of privileging of Christianity.
In order to force compliance, as prophesied, these religious leaders will not only look to, but will wield the power of the state to enforce her dogmas.
Civil government is something ordained of God. Civil power is something ordained of God, even though I do believe in consent and the people and sovereignty of people and all that. But nevertheless, the power itself is something God grants to people, and that should be used for the good of people. And is there anything better than worshiping God and sort of means of grace through the administration of word and sacrament that occurs on Sunday? So
nurturing the state, nurturing the church, or even protecting the church. So I don't want your protection. Is Joe Biden really supposed to be punishing me for heresy?
Yeah. No.
Although Stephen jokingly says that President Biden isn't supposed to punish heretics, he goes on to say that the magistrate, which is the arm of the state, will have the power to punish what he terms blasphemy. Such a move would inevitably result in a precarious situation where the church could exert influence over the state.
A magistrate cannot say, that guy's a heretic, you're listening to him, I order you not to believe what he's saying, because that would again be an inward matter. But if what the guy, let's say it actually is heresy, just in principle, the pastor, the magistrate can say, silence, be silent. And because the moment you outwardly say something, it becomes a matter of the public. It leaves the private and becomes public. And so it becomes in a matter of the jurisdiction of you can say the state or just say the magistrate. And so it can be a matter of law that says you cannot do that.
In the year 2015, the leader of the Roman Catholic Church made history when he delivered a speech before a joint session of the United States Congress. During his speech, the Pope made reference to the common good.
Renew a spirit of fraternity and solidarity, cooperating generously for the common good.
In the following video, Chad Pecknold elaborates on what the Catholic Church envisions when the common good is realized.
In the Catholic vision, the sharing of the common good is precisely the way in which our personal goods are elevated. Sabbath laws are a way of publicly orienting us to God, but also safeguarding the common good of the family, the common good of the sacrament of the family, marriage, the common good of local communities, the common good of, indeed, Holy Church. And the state, in making such laws, sets a limit. Itself must set the limits.
In the following clip, Mr. Pecknold further emphasizes the need for a public ordination towards God. He then details the fact that the infrastructure is already in place to restore Sunday laws, traditionally referred to as blue laws.
The public ordination to God is something that has suffered badly in recent decades, but it is easily restored. And I would say it is enacted and continues to be on the books in many different states in the way of blue laws, of Sabbath laws. If you've been following our disputes, we've been proponents of Sabbath laws. A restoration of the Sabbath is the most concrete and material gift that we can give to our nation.
Sunday advocates are pulling all the stops and have made it unmistakably clear what their agenda is. The real question is, are we paying attention?
A public orientation to God then reflected where? Reflected in concrete ways, in national holidays, in civic liturgies, in laws, indeed, Sabbath laws, Sunday laws that would require a cessation of what? Commerce could cease, and we could be free for one day, for God.
In this final clip, Stephen offers a word to the wise, in that this movement is a threat to our democracy and to our way of life. Should this movement succeed, in his own words, there would be no religious neutrality. Religious freedom as we know it would cease to exist.
Christian nationalism, as I've presented it, is incompatible with secularism. If Christians get serious, then yeah, we're a threat. I mean, we're a threat to their regime, in the sense that us Christians having power would end that regime. It would end the secularist regime, and there would no longer be religious neutrality.
The Sunday movement is now making its way in darkness. The leaders are concealing the true issue, and many who unite in this movement do not themselves see whither the undercurrent is tending. Its professions are mild and apparently Christian, but when it shall speak, it will reveal the spirit of the dragon. In legislative halls all across America, there is a call for the return to God and His commandments.
Get back to God, faith, and family.
They said we are on a mission to turn our nation back to God.
We'll have a responsibility right now to call our nation back to God.
There is no separation of church and state in the Constitution or Declaration of Independence. It doesn't exist.
What you mean about no separation of church and state? State is the body, church is the heart. You take the heart out of the body dies.
We should be instilling God in the classroom, instilling God in the workplace, and in all aspects of society.
We are supposed to have the government bowing the knee to the church, not the church bowing the knee to the government.
According to Deuteronomy 6, in the context of traditional family in the home, we are to diligently instruct our children to love God and to obey His commandments.
In God's word in Exodus 20:18, it says, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy.
Probably we should be debating a bill requiring every American to attend a church of their choice on Sunday to see if we can get back to having a moral rebirth.
The time is not far distant when the world will be compelled to worship on Sunday, which is the mark of the beast. The Sabbath will be the great test of loyalty, for it is a point of truth especially controverted. When the final test shall be brought to bear upon men, then the line of distinction will be drawn between those who serve God and those who serve Him not. Jesus said, if ye love me, keep my commandments, for blessed are they that do His commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. Therefore, remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. For more information on the topics discussed in this video, please visit our website at www.prophecyagain.org.
Okay, I decided this will be a part 2. And I do want to say real quick is that even though this Pope that was seen in the video is dead, do not be mistaken. The agenda that Pope had, the new Pope is going to continue. It's just that simple. Yeah. This is why I keep emphasizing and talking about at points of country living, because those who are in the cities when this time of trouble happens are not going to like being in the cities, to say the least. So I hope to, by God's grace, to make another study of country living sometime in the future. But yeah, I'll come back for part 2. And when we do part 2, we'll continue on straight up with the video. I'll say something real quick and then we'll start the video. And then we'll go with, and then I'll read off the rest of what's left for this series. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day.